Hello again everybody. I've got another knife review for you. This is one that you've seen me do the unboxing. It was my Christmas present from my lovely wife, and it's the Tanto 200 fixed blade knife from George at GI Custom Knives. I'll put a link in the description box. I'm sure you all know George. If you don't, you need to check out his channel. He's an extremely nice man. He's extremely talented, and he made my Christmas present from my lovely wife. As I say, having done the unboxing, I think this knife merits a closer look. So if you'll join me at the desktop, and we'll get into some specs first, and then a bit of testing. Okay, so here we have the Tanto 200 in its sheath. The tooling on the leather is lovely, hand stitched with artificial sinew, maker's mark on the back. I like the way the belt loop is riveted on just completely flat, so it's extremely tight at first, but obviously the leather's going to give, and as the leather gives, then there'll just be a little bit more room, a little bit of slack, and it'll be just about right. 3 eyelets there to fix that on. Take the knife out. So the specs, as I mentioned before, it's 3/16 01 tool steel. It's 220mm overall, which is just a shade under 9 inches. The blade's 115 from the scales to the tip. That's 4 5/8. The handle is desert ironwood burl. So we've got quite a high satin polish there, and the maker's mark on the ricasso. When you look at this knife, the fit and finish is extremely nice. The handle is very smooth. One thing I like on the hand swell there, it's quite curved from side to side, but in the finger choils, apart from the edges being rounded, that surface is quite flat, and that I think gives you a very good, let's sort of shift that hand out of the way, that gives you a very good grip. I like the way it feels in the hand. There is something I'm going to say now that might be controversial, I don't know. When you look very closely, there are a couple of places where the knife isn't entirely symmetrical. For example, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but where the scales just come right down to the point, this side is a little bit thicker than this side. And then also on the ricasso on this side, you've got a very square corner, but on this side there's a little bevel. Now, does that mean the knife is flawed? Personally, I don't think it does. I think the way to understand this is it's an entirely handmade knife. It's made by a single man in his workshop, working by hand and by, well, with machines obviously, but you know what I mean, and working by eye. I don't think there's any particular requirement for it to be 100% identical side to side. If that's what you want, then maybe you need a factory made knife where everything's stamped out and CNC'd and moulded, and any one that comes off the production line is the same as any other. for me, such small variations just come with the territory that's handmade. Maybe some people will think, oh, that's not good enough, it should be the same, but sorry, that's bollocks. There are little tiny things like that that you will get in handmade products. Maybe the next 10 you won't be able to see any difference with the naked eye. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with this at all. It's extremely well made. I think it's fantastic. So, to the testing. This is how it came. I've not done anything to the edge other than slice up some paper, and as you can see, look at that. Now, Brother Marshall will like that one. He's fond of the odd curly. It is razor sharp. So, what's the next thing up from slicing paper? Well, in an homage to Kylie Harris, we're going to mess up a tomato. Now, I do realise that when Kylie cuts his tomatoes up, he's usually testing kitchen knives, which would have a much thinner stock. And this is a very nice lean grind, but nonetheless it's a lean grind on quite a substantial piece of steel. So let's see what happens. I'm a bit wary doing this because with it being all-1 tool steel and tomatoes being very acidic, could this be the point where I start to get the first marks or discoloration on my new knife? And as you can see, it's going through that. This is the one that Kylie does. I don't think I'm going to manage this one. I think the blade is just too thick. We can get into the skin, but nevertheless, actually let's just do it that way. If you're cutting downwards, you can have your tomatoes as thin as you like. Now look at that. You could read the paper through that. So I'll just give it a quick wipe. I think we passed the tomato test. So the next one is the heavy cardboard tube. You've seen this before. As you can see, I've used it to test other knives, and we'll see what happens. And that is excellent. No problems at all. I have to say, that's far better than the Scandi knives that I've used previously. Now here's the first. I don't think I've done any cut tests on actual wood up to now. So I've got a piece of wood here. It's 1 inch by 1.25 inch. Seasoned softwood. I'm assuming it's Scotch pine. Well, let's have a do anyway. So if you were to start off doing your feather sticks, once you get in, now I'm making a bit of a bollocks of this, but you can see the knife is performing more than adequately, even if I'm not. That's nice. In terms of just bite, there you go. Plenty of performance there. So just take a few bits of wood off, and then we'll get another piece of paper, wipe the thumb marks off, you would never know that I've just been hacking away at a big cob of wood. That is fantastic. It's not a surprise, because if you watch the video where George does his testing, you'll have seen that level of performance anyway. So I think the memory card's going to run out in a few seconds, so I'm going to wind it up there. Thanks for watching. Hope you found that interesting. I'll see you next time.